Great, thank you. For those that don't know, I'm Chris Roberts, and I have the honour of being chair of our European Working Group. Welcome to the session. The session is fully prepared and organised and written by ourselves. We all help each other, whether we like it or not. This is a hybrid event, so don't forget people at home as well. So hello to everyone at home. So, as I'm saying, this session is fully prepared, organised, written by ourselves, the members of the European Working Group. We are using our collective knowledge, personal experiences to speak about building bridges. Bridges that we've built during our diagnosis, whether it be coming to accept our diagnosis, learning, adapting, to live with it, or building bridges with our families and professionals so they can understand us better and then we can work together better. And that might not help us now, but it might help future generations if we all work together now. It's those bridges. Also, we carry on building bridges every day because we need these bridges to alleviate the stigma and the many assumptions that people have that surround us all the time, surround anyone living with a life-changing diagnosis, and especially when you can't see it. This year, as most of you know, we're celebrating 10 years since the group was set up. And I'm so proud to be amongst all these amazing individuals and all the people that came before me, who, through adversity, have not only become great friends over the years, but also inspirational to lots of people, including me. When I feel down, I just look at one of the other guys and I'm up again. Each speaker will now give the speeches, and hopefully there'll be time for questions and comments at the end. As I said, hybrid session, so people at home, and don't forget to put your questions on the app. Thank you. Okay, let's go. Introducing our first speaker, Angela, who is speaking her own language, and then the new member, Lilo, first time up, will translate for Angela in English. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Angela Pototschnigg from Vienna. I speak in German and Lilo speak in English. Es gibt Brücken, die wir aus Wissenschaft und Forschung kennen, oder auch jene im öffentlichen Raum, um Flüsse, Täler, Gräben oder andere Hindernisse zu überwinden. Eine Brücke sollte gut begehbar sein, fest und solide. Doch viele Menschen fällt das Brückenbauen schwer, vor allem wenn sie keine Architekten oder Baumeister sind. Und genau das trifft auch auf uns zu, auf die Brücken zwischen gesunden Menschen und Menschen mit Demenz. Denn Brückenbauen erfordert manchmal sehr. So.
Hello, I'm Lilo. I'm only the ghost speaker of Angela. I am very proud that I do this for you. There are bridges, we know from science and research, and those in public spaces to cross rivers, valleys, ditches, or other bridges. A bridge should be easy to walk on, strong and solid. But most people find it difficult to build bridges, especially if there are no architects or master builders. This also applied to us, namely to the bridges between healthy people and people with dementia, because building bridges can be demanding.
Meine Brücke zu gesunden Menschen ist das Sprechen über Demenz und wie es sich anfühlt, mit ihr zu leben. Es wird eine Zeit kommen, da werde ich mich vielleicht nicht mehr mit Worten ausdrücken können und deshalb sorge ich vor, indem ich vieles aufschreibe, was mir wichtig ist.
My bridge to healthy people is talking about dementia and how it feels to live with it. There will come a time when I may no longer be able to express myself with words, so I take precaution by writing down many things that seems important to me.
Möglichst lange selbstbestimmt leben zu können, das ist einer unserer häufigsten Wünsche. Und wie schnell wird uns das abgesprochen? Meist wird auf unsere Defizite geschaut und kaum auf die Fähigkeiten, die jede und jeder von uns einzeln noch besitzt und die es einfach zu fördern gilt. Die Brücke, die gesunde Menschen zu uns bauen können, sollte auf soliden Pfeilern stehen, von Respekt, Verständnis, Geduld und auf Augenhöhe, trotz aller Einschränkungen, die es auf unserer Seite gibt. Und darum bitte ich Sie alle.
To be able to live as long as possible in a self-determined way is one of our most frequent wishes. And how quickly we are denied this. Mostly, people look at our deficits and hardly at the abilities that each and every one of us possesses, and that need to be promoted. The bridge that healthy people can build to us should stand on solid pillars of respect, understanding, patience, and eye level, despite all the limitations that we have. That is what I am asking from all of you.
Es wird höchste Zeit, dass wir Menschen mit dementiellen Einschränkungen uns von dem Schweigen lösen, welches die Generationen vor uns so oft noch aus Scham praktiziert haben. Auch heute ist die Erkrankung noch sehr stigmatisiert. Nur wenn wir über unsere Wünsche und Bedürfnisse mit den Menschen in unserem Umfeld sprechen, ist es möglich, dass jene Personen, die uns nahestehen, uns gut unterstützen können. Nur so können die Missverständnisse klein gehalten werden, was gesellschaftlich, aber auch im Familienverband von großer Wichtigkeit ist.
It is high time that we, people with dementia, break away from the silence that the generations before us so often practiced out of shame. Even today, the disease is still very stigmatized. Only by talking about our wishes and needs with the people around us is it possible that those people who are close to us can support us well. This is the only way to minimize misunderstandings, which is very important socially, but also in our families.
Millionen von Menschen haben ähnliche Probleme im Leben wie ich. Und es liegt mir fern, mich für meine Einschränkungen zu schämen oder mich zurückzuziehen. Deshalb schätze ich die Veranstaltungen wie diese. Sie sind eine tolle Möglichkeit für uns, unsere Stimme zu erheben und sichtbar zu werden.
Millions of people have similar problems in life as I do. I don't think about being ashamed of my limitations or withdrawing. That's why I appreciate events like this, because they are a great way for us to raise our voices and be visible.
Im Laufe meiner Erkrankung habe ich verstanden, dass es nicht genügt, mich als Betroffene zu bezeichnen, denn auch Angehörige sind betroffen von Demenz, allerdings auf eine andere Weise. Es ist wichtig, beide Sichtweisen zu kennen und zu verstehen. Nur eine Seite zu unterstützen hieße, die Schieflage zwischen uns noch mehr zu fördern. In meiner Vorstellung liegt manchmal ein Graben von Unwissenheit, Angst und Unsicherheit zwischen uns. Und es gilt, diesen Graben durch eine Brücke zu verbinden, auf der wir mit unseren unterschiedlichen Zugängen und Bedürfnissen uns begegnen können. So kann es gelingen, einen ehrlichen Umgang miteinander zu pflegen. Denn auch ich wünsche mir nichts sehnlicher, als dass meine Familie weiterhin zu mir hält und für mich da ist, ohne dass die Überforderung überhand nimmt. Und so hoffe ich, dass wir es weiterhin schaffen, uns auf dieser Brücke zu treffen.
In the course of my illness, I have understood that it is not enough to call myself an affected person, because relatives are also affected by dementia, but in a different way. It is important to know and understand both points of view. To support only one side would be to promote the imbalance even more. In my mind, sometimes there is a chasm of ignorance, fear, and insecurity between us, and it is important to connect this gap with a bridge where we can meet each other with our different approaches and needs. This is how we can succeed in dealing with each other honestly. Because I too would like nothing more than for my family to continue stand by me and care for me without the challenge getting out of hand. And so I hope that we will continue managing to meet on this bridge.
Persönliche Assistenz ist besonders eine wichtige Brücke in meinem heutigen Leben, weil mir dadurch noch viele Dinge möglich sind und meine Handlungsspielräume groß bleiben. Es ist mir bewusst, welches Privileg ich habe, eine Person an meiner Seite zu haben, der ich vertrauen kann, die mich gut kennt, die viel Wissen über meine Erkrankung hat und mir beisteht, wenn es notwendig ist. Assistenz für Menschen mit Demenz gibt es in Österreich noch nicht. Es wird finanziell auch nicht unterstützt. Es sollte aber eine Selbstverständlichkeit sein und einen rechtlichen Anspruch für alle Menschen, die mit Demenz leben und auf diese Möglichkeit zurückgreifen können. Persönliche Assistenz muss für uns finanziell leistbar angeboten werden.
Personal assistance is a particularly important bridge in my life today. It means that many things are still possible for me, and I have plenty of room for action. I realized what a privilege it is to have a person by my side whom can I trust, who knows me well, who has a lot of knowledge about my disease, and who stands by me when it is necessary. Assistance for people with dementia does not exist in Austria, and it is not financially supported. It should be a matter, of course, and a legal right for all people with dementia to have access to this possibility. Personal assistance must be financially affordable for us.
Manchmal fällt mir der Song dazu ein, Bridge over Troubled Water von Simon und Garfunkel. In der letzten Strophe heißt es sinngemäß: Ich bin dein Freund, sei beruhigt. Ich segle dicht hinter dir, ich passe auf dich auf, wie eine Brücke über dem reißenden Fluss. Und wir Menschen mit Demenz sind oft aufgewühlt oder befinden uns in Turbulenzen.
Sometimes the song Bridge over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel comes to mind. In the last verse, it says, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind. And we, people with dementia, are often confused or in trouble.
Auf europäischer Ebene vernetzen wir uns hier und überlegen zusammen, was wir gerne verändern möchten. Auch dies sind wichtige Brücken, um ein neues Leben nach der Diagnose zu beginnen.
At the European level, we are networking and thinking together about what we would like to change. This is also an important bridge to start a new life after diagnosis.
Ich sehe Vergesslichkeit und kognitive Defizite nicht als Schrecken meines Alters an, sondern als eine andere Form, das Alter zu erfahren. Und manchmal entdecke ich für mich auch noch neue Möglichkeiten. Richard Taylor hat einmal gesagt, wir sollten nicht so weiterleben, wie wir es gewohnt waren, sondern nach neuen Strategien suchen, die uns ermöglichen, unser neues Leben gut zu bewältigen.
I don't see memory problems and cognitive deficits as the horrors of my old age, but as another way of experiencing old age. And sometimes I still discover new possibilities. Richard Taylor said in his book, "We should not continue living as we have been used before, but look for new strategies that will enable us to cope well with our new life."
Mit Mut in den neuen Lebensabschnitt zu gehen, möchte ich allen Menschen mit kognitiven Einschränkungen ans Herz legen. Und ich danke für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.
I would like to urge all people with dementia to enter the new phase of their lives with courage. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ja, that's okay.
Fantastic. Well done. What I didn't say, I didn't introduce them properly. Angela was nominated by Alzheimer's Austria for the European Working Group in 2018. I've been stressed about this because I should have said it before. She holds peer support talks twice a month for those with memory problems, organised and supported by Alzheimer's Austria. The goal is to reach others who are worried about their memory and have received a diagnosis of dementia and may want to exchange views. Peer support. For the past 2 years, she's been invited to speak at committees about concerns, needs and wishes of people with dementia, such as in the Austrian dementia strategy and the upcoming care reform. She gives regular talks promoting dementia-friendly communities to family carers and professional caregivers. Also engages in projects that focuses on the participation and information about people living with dementia. Angela says that all these activities are very important for her because it gives her life meaning, as you just heard. Lilo, 62 years old. We're supposed to tell people that? She's a mother, a daughter, and a sailor. She was a CEO at an IT company until 2017 when she was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. Next, it's a polite way of saying stop. Kevin is 59 years old and married to Helena, beautiful Helena. He was first diagnosed with Parkinson's just over 6 years ago, and then he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia as well. He's chair of the Irish Dementia Working Group, vice chair of the European Working Group, and co-founder of Lewy Body Ireland. He's been very involved in PPI and is the author of 2 books about Lewy body dementia. The first book, Lewy body dementia survival and me, and the second book, just recently published, I Am Kevin, Not Louis. I like that. And he's now busy writing his 3rd book. He's just been awarded the Presidential Award from Longford International College in Ireland for his outstanding achievements in bringing awareness of Lewy body dementia, not just in Ireland, but globally. Please welcome Kevin.
He doesn't have to make me sound good, does he? Now, I must warn you all that I'm the member of the group that cannot get through a speech without crying. But we'll try this one. Kevin Quaid is my name, as Chris said. The European Working Group of People with Dementia was set up by the Alzheimer Europe in 2012 and is composed of 14 men and women with different types of dementia and from different countries across Europe. They work to ensure that the activities, projects and meetings of Alzheimer Europe duly reflect the priorities and views of people with dementia. The title of this speech is Building Bridges. And as I come from a background of construction, I'm going to use this analogy. There are so many different types of bridges: long, short, tall, small, and some, when looked at in the beginning, seem an impossible task. Like any good bridge, the first step is design and planning. Some bridges are built from one side to the other, while other bridges are so long that they have to be started at both ends and met in the middle. How does this have anything to do with dementia? Where are the comparisons? The type of bridges that exist in dementia are like the ones I have just mentioned and come in all shapes and sizes. One of the biggest can be that of stigma. Another can be of guilt and shame. Bridges may need to be built up with family and friends, with the medical professionals, indeed with people from all aspects of life, and with people who have now entered our life because of the diagnosis that we have received. The biggest bridge of all is stigma. Why is that? Why is there so much stigma still attached to people who have received a diagnosis of dementia? The answer is quite simple: a lack of education. To this day, people all over the world associate 4 words: dementia equals Alzheimer's equals memory loss. Each and every time you hear me speak, I will tell you there is no such thing as a diagnosis of dementia, nor is there a diagnosis of a touch of dementia. You cannot get a proper diagnosis of dementia until you are told what dementia you have. And this is where a lot of the problems can be solved. And a lot less heartache for the person who has dementia, as well as their loved ones. We need to know what type of dementia it is in order to cross that mighty canyon that we have found ourselves trying to cross. I have Lewy body dementia, I told you. And if I'm in a person's company, and after having a short conversation, sometimes I will say to them, I have Lewy body dementia, and I will be told, there's nothing wrong with your memory. We've been talking for the last hour, and your memory is better than mine. But if I say, I have Lewy body brain disease, the question will be so different, and it will be, what is that? Why is that? It's because of the 4 words I spoke about earlier. Dementia to so many people just means memory loss. So many families whose loved ones have received a diagnosis of dementia will turn their back on them because of the shame and the stigma that it is supposed to carry. Dim bridges, for some people, including myself, can sometimes be a bridge too far. And if you are the person with dementia, it is not your fault. And if you are the person who has turned your back on them, then shame on you. You need to start to rebuild that bridge. The person who has dementia doesn't want it, and certainly didn't cause it. I have mentioned the medical professionals as well. They have such a massive role to play in ensuring that a proper diagnosis is given. And don't tell me it's part of aging. If you had cancer, you would be told what type and what stage, regardless of your age. Does someone in their 90s, if they are living a happy and contented life, need to be told they have dementia? It depends on their circumstances. Maybe not. But their family has a right to know, so as they can ensure that they know what to look out for, what the best possible care is, as well as the proper medication for their specific type of dementia. Since I joined the Alzheimer Society of Ireland, as well as Alzheimer Europe, I have seen tremendous work being done and some tremendous results being achieved. And as we as a group, we are standing on the shoulders of all those brilliant people who have gone before us. But we must keep building on the fantastic work that they have achieved. And we must keep building those bridges until the day that there is no more stigma, no more misdiagnosis, no more family shame, no more people who you thought were your friends leaving your side. We have to and will continue to build bridges until we find a cure for dementia. And as long as I have a voice, I will not stop. And I know members of working groups all over the world feel the same. One great place to start is, don't ever, ever be afraid to tell anyone that you have dementia. I will leave you with this, in the words of the famous author Sir Terry Pratchett, who passed away from Alzheimer's. When he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, his PA, Rob, asked him, he said, "Terry, who will we tell?" And Terry's response was, "Let's tell everyone." I want, when you leave here today, have a think about your life and the life of your loved ones, and together, let's build the bridge to a brighter future for all of us. Thank you.
How am I supposed to speak now? Frederick's coming. Right. Introducing our third speaker. Moment. Breathe. Erla was nominated by Alzheimer's Iceland. She and her husband Emil have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. Erla was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease in 2019. She immediately joined Alzheimer's Iceland as a member of their working group of people with dementia. Erla holds a BA in economics from the University of Iceland and a master's in international marketing and development studies. She has a broad spectrum of working experiences, both in the private and the public sector in Iceland. She was a member of a town council in her hometown for 12 years. I can't tell you where that is. She was a board member of UNIFEM, which is the United Nations Development Fund for Women in Iceland. Please welcome Erla.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sigríður Erla Jόnsdóttir, and I am an Alzheimer's patient. That was a poor introduction. When I was preparing for this event, the words of an Icelandic parliamentarian and writer came to mind. He wrote, "I am a hunter. It doesn't matter what jobs I've done all my life for a living, When asked, I cannot say more truthfully than that I am a hunter. It is rarely or never asked who a person is, but only what a person does. I find a lot in common with the writer's observation and society's response to Alzheimer's disease. It is less about examining and asking who the person is and how to meet the individual's needs and wishes. As said earlier, my introduction was poor and inadequate, so I'm going to try again. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sigríður Erla Jόnsdóttir, and I come from the up north, the land of fire and ice, Iceland. I am 66 years old, happily married, and a mother of 2 wonderful daughters, and a grandmother of 4. Throughout my life, I have been an active citizen in my society, and I have a broad spectrum of working experience. If asked to describe myself, I could say that I am a talkative extrovert that likes nothing better than being among people, communicating, and helping out. And really bursting with social needs. Togetherness of all kinds among family, friends, and partners is very important to me. I would have been the perfect waitress. Anyway, this is who I am, what makes me me. And by the way, I developed a disease called Alzheimer's a few years back. This kind of changed my whole life in some respect. Not necessarily in the way I wanted, rather in an uncontrolled manner on my behalf. When I became ill, I held a management position in a large public forum. Soon after I started that job, signs began to emerge that indicated that something was wrong. In hindsight, these were the classic symptoms. It was difficult to keep juggling many things at once. My concentration deteriorated, and things were simply forgotten. Having a job is not just about earning money. It provided me with a rich purpose, a daily routine, satisfaction, and a sense of normality, and I benefited from the relationships and connections formed through work. All of these factors affected my daily life and well-being. It must be clear to everyone that the effect of Alzheimer's on work capacity is significant, but it emerges in a different way and at different paces depending on the person. But one thing is sure, the trauma for everyone who has to face Alzheimer's disease and its consequences in their prime is significant. This may result in distress, embarrassment, and a loss of confidence. Employers may wrongly assume that these changes are intentional or controllable. It can be said that this process is inevitable. There are no other viable options considered. The employee is required to quit. They do not get the opportunity to use resources for adaptation in the workplace and are forced to leave without dignity and pride. And what is most serious of all, if the separation from the workplace is not considerate and good-natured, the employee will have to carry the shame and distress of that experience with them into the future. It is undesirable and unnecessary altogether. It's already hard enough. As mentioned before, my Alzheimer's started to take its toll when I was working at a large public institution. And as time passed, traditional characteristics began to surface. Misunderstandings and friction arose between me and my colleagues, and I was always pushed more and more to the side, always made more and more unnecessary and redundant. And I got more and more isolated at work. By the end, I spent the day alone in a windowless room, arranging things in alphabetic order. Nothing was explained to me, nor did I get any consultation. It was just done. And now I refer back to the presentation about myself here at the beginning, a talkative extrovert that likes nothing better than being among people, communicating and helping out, bursting with social needs. I would kindly ask you to keep the presentation in mind when you weigh this and evaluate. I know that's a dramatic description, but that's how I experienced it. Then came the diagnosis, and I was immediately ordered to go on sick leave. And to cut a long story short, I never returned to the workplace again. Never. That possibility was never discussed or considered. I never met or even heard from my co-workers after I went on sick leave. But in all fairness, COVID had something to do with that. In situations like this, we can do much, much better. By looking at each individual situation, characteristics, advantages, and ability to work, a way can be found in cooperation with the employee to enable them to work considerably longer. The goal must always be to enable the employee to finish their career with pride and in harmony with God and man. Let's not thoughtlessly send them home with a heavy load on their back that they can't get rid of. There are obstacles on the way, from the onset of the illness to the time you have to stop working. At each obstacle, we need to build a bridge and thus secure the way forward. And the bridge builders must come from many places, from our organizations, from the education system, from the policymakers, the business world, and beyond. To some extent, the responsibility lies with ourselves and what we can do best to inform, and inform. That's why a day like this is so important. And to Alzheimer Europe, I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for this initiative. Thank you.
Wow, Wow. Right. Last but not least, introducing our fourth and last speaker. Nigel was diagnosed with early onset dementia in 2012. He's had a lot of experience of working with groups at regional and national level in the UK. He's from Wales. It's not English. Sorry, I'm biased. I'm Welsh. He's the chair of the Three Nations Dementia Working Group and has worked on and promoted the development of services and innovation of strategies. He has supported the rights of all disabled people, including those with a dementia, for equitable services. I had to practice that word. The fulfilment of statutory and civil rights and the promotion of their preferences and a right to be heard. Nigel was nominated by our Alzheimer Society, United Kingdom / Cymru, to join the European Working Group in October 2020. Nigel.
Thank you, Chris. And when I was told I was on last, there was a high sigh of relief, because it doesn't engage you with timing techniques and you just get on with it as well. What they didn't tell you is you have to follow some amazing speakers. Can you put your hands together for these amazing speakers that I follow through? Absolutely brilliant. And I feel a bit of a fraud, really. It's like, for those of you who've got any recollection of music, it's like following Jimi Hendrix with a ukulele. It really, it really sort of brings it home to you. What Chris forgot to tell you was that, or didn't tell you, was that I also see myself as a poet, philosopher, drunk, a general bonhomie, which kind of helps when it comes to talking to people. The theme of the conference, as you all know, is building bridges. And we are constantly looking for ways to build bridges. And I believe, almost with a religious fervour, that co-production is the way to build bridges. My view is it's the only way to build significant changes within services. It can be described as an asset-based approach to all services, whatever they are, enabling people who receive or supply services to share power and responsibilities and to work together in an equal and reciprocal way in developing caring relationships. But co-production just isn't about services. It includes policy and research, where this negotiated shift of power reaps benefits, greater knowledge, and more accuracy in its outcomes. It's a different solution to meet people's needs and care. And co-production is about a different way, a different culture, and different relationships within this caring circle, both in the development of the services and their delivery. Co-production places people at the heart of everything. And research tells us that service planning and delivery saves money and changes lives if done in a co-produced way, and produces evidence that co-produced activities supports better relationships. I've heard a lot of talk of previous speakers about stigma, and it really does take on the challenges of the stigmatized approach to people with dementia when you give them an equal voice on an equal footing. My own experience of co-production has always left me with a feeling of empowerment and a sense of worth. To be treated as an equal and really listened to is a transformative experience, especially following diagnosis. The lady is back. Put your hand up, Michaela. No, she's hiding. Put your hand up. This is Michaela Morris, and she's taken on board, and she will tell you we're delivering a thing called the Welsh Hospital Friendly Dementia Charter, and I forgot where the room is. So if you want to know where it is, Michaela will tell you. Now, this is close to my heart simply because I was afraid of hospitals. I was afraid what they do to me. I was afraid how I was treated. But to have that insight and be able to develop services along the framework of dementia-friendly and dementia-responsive hospital care was amazing. But these are fundamentals to all of us. And to achieve positive life outcomes, to enable well-being and achieve genuine person-centered care, good policy and value as citizens, dementia tends to steal your citizenship away from you. You're seen as a lesser person. Co-production puts you back in the centre of all things, gives you a sense of worth, allows you to contribute in an equal way. Organizational structures can be, organizations are different structures of different cultures. They're religious, they can be faith-based, they can be, but by and large, they're run by people at the top who interpret their own view of ordinal structure, and sometimes in care, an organizational structure which is about doing things to people, not doing things with people, can be very difficult to navigate. If applied correctly, co-production can change and challenge this perspective, where the person who previously had to fit around the service, rather than the service fitting around the person. Co-production is a tool any sensible leader would use to change organizational culture, to channel the way outcomes are delivered in a more responsive way to the user client group. And co-production is a word often used to describe the creation of a dialogical space for people to exchange views. It's far more than that. It's about building bridges, it's about building relationships, and it's about being responsive to your client group's needs. And understanding how quality services can be developed by engaging with the client groups. Also gives the opportunity with these services to be tailored to the needs of loved ones and the people receiving the services. This should now be a cornerstone of the delivery of services for people affected by dementia. In the spirit and the practical delivery of the various human rights and equality acts that are active around Europe. When implemented correctly, the idea of co-production should have a power to achieve positive change, including making services a lot more responsive to the needs of those affected by dementia, their loved ones and carers. This negotiated shift of power is not a threat, but sometimes service providers see it as a threat. It is not. It's a way to enhance and negotiate. One of my favorite people is a lady called Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou grew up in the United States in the 40s. She's Afro-American heritage. She was a poet, an author, an actor, a singer. She won 2 presidential nominations for American of the Year, and she did it during the time of racial inequality in America. And she said, until you know better, do the best you can. When you know better, do better. And co-production lets you do that. And I have seen extraordinary examples of courage, and it's something we never talk about in dementia, how courageous people are. I believe that some people's depth of character is immeasurable. They face the challenges on a day-to-day basis. They look at their own deficiencies and deficiencies of the services around them, and they do what they can to make them better. I see people speaking for the first time, being racked by anxiety and self-doubt, but doing it anyway, refusing to be defined by their diagnosis, demanding a place where decisions are made and shared in the most different aspects of their lives, enabling a better understanding of the impact of the diagnosis, which we've seen in spades this afternoon. So let's celebrate for everybody who is beyond brave in their own way. our loved ones, friends, advocates, allies, colleagues, and the people that support us. Because, you know, folks, not all superheroes wear capes. Not all warriors carry armour. Courage always doesn't come with a roar. It's that little voice at the end of the day says, you know what, I'll try that again tomorrow. And I'm going to finish with a Maya Angelou quote because I'm a bit in love with her. I think she's dead now, but I'm a bit in love with her. And she said, people may forget who you are. People may forget where you come from. People may forget what you do. But they never forget the way you make them feel. And I feel pretty good today. Thank you very much.
I don't know about you. Fantastic. Before we've got a couple of minutes left, I think, maybe a couple of questions. But before that, and no one knows about this, we've got a couple of new members and we've got a couple of old members. Not everyone's here this time, but I'd just like to give a warm welcome. Stand if you want to. Petri, Mia, Ready? Thank you very much. Don't they look normal? Okay. Questions? My lovely assistant.
We have several questions, so if we don't have time to address all of them, please look at the European Working Group stand online, and we will make sure to answer all your questions because we had several questions online. Perhaps we can ask about how the different members experience stigma and taboo in their daily lives.
You got another hour?
Sorry? Yeah. If somebody wants to answer.
Yeah, does anyone want to answer that? Yeah, Jerry?
Yeah, one great way of getting rid of stigma is when you're a blow into a town in Ireland, like I was in County Cork, is you write a book, you find the biggest pub in the book, in the town, and you invite everyone, and you tell them you have dementia. And within the space of a year and a half, I'm just Kevin Quaid now, I'm not the guy that has dementia anymore. So it's one way to get rid of it, tell everyone.
So another question is, well done, Kevin. You've all been saying that you're happy being part of a working group. What do you feel has it made the biggest change to yourselves? Who wants to answer that? Nigel? There we are.
Oh, it's working. Well, I think it's because when I was diagnosed, it's a very lonely place to be. And you tend to think you're the only one facing it. But when you meet other people, particularly if they're like-minded, particularly if they're conscious about the change, then that empowers you. It really does. When you can look around and you can talk to people, you get information exchange. And, you know, there's a saying, isn't it? You know, a group of like-minded people can change the world. Why is that? It's the only thing that ever has. And that's why I'm so keen on continuing memberships of various groups I'm on.
Thank you, Nigel. And last, which it's no, oh yeah, okay, sorry. Oh, it's disappeared. Oh, yeah. What criteria do you apply to ensure that the questions posed during consultations with the group are meaningful? I think that's more for you to answer. There is no real I'll answer that. There's no real criteria because no one's opinion is wrong. No one's questions are wrong. And I think you have to be honest to answer questions as well as ask them. So as long as you're polite, there is no criteria to ask us a question. Just ask. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.